Hello, everybody. Welcome to another installation of the Cannabis Tech Stack Summit. This week, we are featuring 365 Cannabis. If you missed some of the previous ones, we had BioTrack, we had Olives, and some of our future ones will be Flow Hub and several others. So please look for NACAT Pros and look forward to joining if you'd like to get some of those previous systems, and follow us if you want to see some of the next ones. But today we have Ian Ray, 365 Cannabis. Welcome.
Hello.
If you are here live, please just let us know in the chat where you're chiming in from. Let us know if you are a dispensary or a cannabis operator, or if you are an ancillary provider. Oh, I'm seeing the comments now. Okay, so we got Maryland, we got Oregon, Hawaii, Michigan, all over. Las Vegas, I'm in Las Vegas with you, in Idaho. Okay, awesome. So we are going to get started. So 365, if you haven't heard about 365 Cannabis, I was blown away when I reached out to them and said, hey, I would love to learn a little bit more about, I knew that they were an ERP. I knew that they were pretty substantive, but I had no idea that they did everything that they actually do. So it's a comprehensive ERP solution built specifically for the cannabis industry, powered by Microsoft Dynamics. It integrates core functions like cultivation, manufacturing, distribution. Oh, I lost my notes. Sorry. Okay, distribution, retail, and finance into one centralized platform designed for scalability and compliance. 365 Cannabis helps cannabis businesses streamline operations, improve traceability, and make data-driven decisions at every stage of the supply chain. So with that, we're just going to get straight into the presentation. Ian is going to show us the back end of the platform, help us understand what it can do and can't do. And then if you guys have questions, if you're considering 365 Cannabis, if you're in 365 Cannabis, please drop your questions and we'll answer them throughout the presentation. That'll help keep it moving forward. But with that, we can go ahead. You can start with your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
And just let me know when you're ready to share. I don't see it available. All right.
Okay, so I wanted to begin with why we input all the data that we do into our system. So one reason is Power BI. So with Power BI, we can see different types of charts and graphs explaining different parts of the business. I'm showing here a metric variance in retail. I can look at things like the retail summary, which we can filter by store, store metrics, which we can also filter by store, but we'll break it down by month and gross profit. There's a lot of these. If you capture people's age, you can do these generational insights and see what contribution that different people have. Millennials are the highest, and you can see directly what categories do they buy the most often. And this is all from store data within our system. So an individual business having their own sales dissected like this. We don't participate unless a customer wants to in data sharing, that you own your own data. We don't derive this from other stores or share your data with other platforms. There's also this detail. So the detail is like the CSV export mode, but with Copilot, the detail screen can become more useful. So for example, if we have questions like which discounts drive sales, are discounts affecting gross margin? If we're trying to figure out something based on the data that we have in the system, one way to do it is this Copilot. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. And what discounts are driving sales? And the Copilot It's not always accurate, and admittedly, it doesn't work every time, especially when I try to demonstrate it. But it uses the data model from Power BI and tries to extract the data and give us some type of information about it. So it says that flour is really being driven by discounts, and then vape cart second, concentrates, accessories, ingestibles down the list. We can also ask questions like, are discounts affecting gross margin? This is a question that's often overlooked, at least that we see within cannabis retailers, that they feel compelled to offer discounts and often copy the way other stores are doing discounts. But are discounts affecting gross margin? Yes. So we could also ask, are there any particular SKUs where discounts affect gross margin more than others? And as we get into more detailed questions, Copilot sometimes doesn't really answer the best, but hopefully in this case that it'll be able to understand that question. Like,
So this is AI.
yeah, this is AI.
Whoa, because I have Copilot. I guess that's a Microsoft AI, but I had no idea you guys had it built into the system.
Oh, it's built in. It's built in all over the system. It's built in to the Power BI, which I'm showing now. It's built in directly to running the system itself. You can ask Copilot a question like you could ask Copilot for help, like how do I look at the chart of accounts or something, and it'll explain it to you.
Okay, now my mind is, I had no idea that this is where we were going to start, because, there's this, there's a lot of concern with using AI with clients and things and client data. So I like the fact that it's actually built in, and I'm pretty sure you guys have controls around sharing the information with the model and all that stuff.
Yes. So it is on Microsoft terms that you can turn off training the model. By some of them, it's by default. You do have to look at it though. Microsoft is not totally upfront with that. I will admit that some of the free ones that they do, that by default you are the product and they're training on the model. I have it turned off like tenant wide on this Microsoft tenant, so they're not training based on this data.
Okay, so that's something we would work with you guys if we onboard.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
definitely. We don't want to just hand the Copilot all of the sales data. No.
Right. Got it. Okay.
But it is showing in these fictitious pre-rolls that these are discounted and that it's resulting in a negative 96% gross margin. So you can see things like that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's essentially that we would want to see data that we're getting out of the system in a Copilot like this. So how do we get to that data? So I'll show the system itself here. And this is an example of a company doing retail. Within the retail company, we can control things like these discounts. So if we have a discount offer lists, that we have these various discounts that are controlled in the back end. So a lot of this retail cannabis software I've seen, they control the discounts by somebody in the store that day activating the discount, versus our system has more of a headquarters control of the discount. So you set the discount for the various stores on various days for various items, and that's automatic. So you would push out to multiple stores and say that this is the discount for this day, and then that's going to apply, and it becomes somebody's job instead of just going in and setting the discounts and then have it be too complicated to unset, that we've seen in some cases. But that's driven by this validation period ID. So validation, like this one's open, but we can have something that only happened in June, something that happened on Tuesday, for example. And then if I show the details of that Tuesday deal, we can set the validation for the discount to be between dates and days that they're valid, as well as start time, end time. So if you want to have like a flash sale that's only valid for 2 hours, you can set that up far in advance and have it only apply to that time period. It also records all of the discounts. So all the discounts are recorded in the chart of accounts. We do have a chart of accounts within the system. It's at its core, it's a general ledger system. That all of this is on top of the fact that it's a general ledger system. So the reason I'm able to see all of those discounts in the Power BI report is because we record them individually into separate accounts. And that's all driven by posting groups. So if you set a particular type of item to post into a certain discount account, it will post that once you process end of day statements within the point of sale system. And we collect the data because it has a point of sale system built in that I can.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that jumped out to me. So this is kind of a all-inclusive, every system that you need. You don't have to have several disconnected systems in order to run your business if you get 365 cannabis, right?
That's the idea. We try to cover everything that we can. So in this case, I have this example of a point of sale system. This type of point of sale system is a little interesting that we can change it. So if you have permission, you could design the point of sale system to do different things for different terminals, depending on what you want. That it's not just a pre-designed thing that's designed as a, one size fits all for every dispensary operation. That we do deal with dispensaries who have a flow where they might check people in with one type of terminal, sell to people with a different type of terminal, assemble the orders with a different terminal, and then have a cashiering terminal that takes the order and takes the money for it. Versus we can just put it all into one terminal as well for smaller stores that do everything at the counter. But as stores grow, they start to want to reduce the amount of labor and time that it takes to process people who are coming in who already know what they want. You don't want to necessarily have like the white glove treatment for somebody who is just going to order right when they walk in.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
That's
so
where we
from
get
the
that from.
POS, POS, they've made sales all day long, all month long. I guess I'd like to see like the sales. How do the sales get captured, the reporting and all that stuff?
Oh,
What does that
well,
look like?
they make sales all day long. Here, I'll get out of this part. In the show, we can see inventory like in the store, in the back of the store, at different stores. That's all available. Essentially, the sales are in this subledger. There's the item ledger entries that once we close out a day, we start getting these sale type item ledger entries. So if I zoom in a little there, that we can see what all we sold on a particular day, and that's going to come up in our item ledger entries along with our purchases, along with any transfers and anything else that we've done.
Okay.
These do have other entries associated with them, so I can do find entries, and it has general ledger entries associated with that item ledger entry.
Okay. Now the GL, because this, it's my understanding that you don't really need QuickBooks. You can just use 365 Cannabis. So if I wanted, can I pull like a balance sheet or a profit and loss statement?
Oh yeah.
So what would that look like?
Let me switch over here. So you could just run a balance sheet. We do need to have a start date, end date. I'm just going to choose a wide range here. And that'll run whatever we've defined for the format for the balance sheet that we want. It does it by category. So if we have, zoomed in too far there, if we have these different categories, like current assets, cash and cash equivalents, all of that, the way I have this one designed is it'll automatically roll up any account that's categorized in these different categories that we have set up.
Got it. But then would you be able to record like liabilities? Like I just got a loan. Like, can you just do regular journal entries in here?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
there's a general journal. Loans and things like that are generally where we see the general journal used. Uh, I used to.
Card transactions and
Oh yeah, credit card transactions we would typically have an invoice against, or we would do a purchase reconciliation against. So we would bring in the bank statement and push that over to a bank ledger, and then that would flow into the GL, ideally.
so you would connect this to all of your bank statements and you can capture all of your transactions.
Yes, we can either import. Most U.S. cannabis operators use the import function, as their banks tend not to be very high tech. Usually, they use special banks. In Canada, we import directly from banks, ongoing usually.
Okay. So
But yeah,
then there's going to be, we got all accountants on this. So there's going to be a lot of questions around this
okay.
specific topic. So Scott is asking, can you reconcile accounts for accuracy? So at the end of the month, I want to pull my bank statement and make sure that the reporting inside of 365 Cannabis is accurate. Is there a reconciliation function?
Yeah, and it depends. I mean, depends. There is a bank reconciliation function. There's the purchase reconciliation or purchase reconciliation. There's quite a few of them, but yes, you can do that.
So then do you just ask in the search bar bank reconciliation or something like that, and it takes you to that module?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Are you able to show us, or let's see?
Yeah. Let's see if I'll try. I'm just try to figure out a company that I actually have any type of active bank rec in. Oh, we're getting more questions here too.
Yeah, there's we're going to go deep. So just let me know, I mean, what all, I know this is a demo account, so.
Oh yeah.
But you should.
No, I'll be able to pull it up. I'll go back to the bank account reconciliations once I figure that out. So the AR transactions and deposits. So there's a couple ways of doing that. Common in cannabis is these cash receipt journals, so that we can use a cash receipt journal, against the bank account, against the customer, and then apply basically to apply the receipt of cash to one or more invoices, so that we're doing it in a way that, like, apparently a lot of these campus companies pay like bulk for a bunch of invoices. So then we apply it directly there. We can also do, there's a receive payments that we can do. And that's a relatively new one, to be able to receive payments against individual invoices. That I think Microsoft added that one, and they added that one for to basically to match what QuickBooks does for the receiving the payments.
Yeah. Okay. So when you make a sale of product and then that vendor pays you, or then when it comes through the bank account, we can match it up to that sale.
Correct.
Okay.
So if we sell something bulk and then they pay us for the invoices, we can put that in the bank either with deposits or cash receipts, or we can mark the individual invoices paid and apply it to the invoice. In the case of the cash receipts or the deposits, just apply it to which invoices that we want to apply it to. There's also, and I didn't see this outside of cannabis very much, but I do see it a lot in cannabis, to be able to close orders that are never going to get paid and then push that to a different account as well.
Like write them off.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just like do a manual journal entry. Hey, there's a huge discrepancy here. We're just going to write off these transactions.
Correct. Okay. Correct. Write it off and say, oh, but we're still gonna we're still going to sell to these people too, which is the other one I have only seen in cannabis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this would be the idea of your bank account reconciliation, that we pull in these bank statement lines, and then we match those over to the bank statement ledger entries over here on the right hand side. You can also do the Copilot reconcile. This also does use AI to attempt to do the bank reconciliation or help. And the place I've seen it work in a way that I liked is finding multiple transactions that add up to one large transaction and then associating those. Because I've had that problem before where it was e-commerce where we had just tons of little transactions go through, but then our actual bank statement line showed just a large deposit. So it'll match up that if that's the case.
What about in the instance, because this is another issue that we find with POS systems, is they round out to like the 10th degree. And so there's all these pennies and dollars all over the place that are off. Is it able to kind of identify, hey, these should match, we're just off by a penny, so we need to, reckon or write off a penny or a dollar for these two transactions?
Oh yeah, it does that both with, so there's a automatic match that it can do that with, that matches things that are close, and the AI match absolutely matches pennies or things that are off just by a little bit. The AI version will look at the text, the date, the amount, and see what is probably correct versus.
Oh, wow, that'd be really helpful. Okay. Also, there's a question out there about chart of accounts. Do we get to manipulate that and upload our own chart of accounts, or have you guys built it?
I mean, your chart of accounts is whatever you want.
Have you guys?
We do have a suggested one.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You were answering what I was going to ask.
Oh yeah. We do have a suggested one for basically for people who don't have, they're not set on their chart of accounts. One of the reasons that we have one of those is something called dimensions. So we have the concept of dimensions in the system, and we could look at I'll just look at dimensions. So for example, department dimension is one I show pretty often, that we can have a department dimension that affects transactions.
I think
so you could have
frozen. We see checking 24. Should we see a dimension screen?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. There we go. The dimension screen. So it's basically you would have a chart of accounts, and you could have like a travel expense account. But instead of having travel expense, sub-account, admin, sub-account, HR, you just tag the transactions with dimensions, and then you can just have one natural account that all of it goes to, but then you can report on it based on slicing and dicing these different dimensions that you have set against transactions. And they can be defaulted for items, vendors, customers, and locations. Or input manually. If you're just doing an invoice and you want to mark that this line on this invoice was HR, this line was accounting.
Nice. Okay. I see the chart of accounts behind there.
Yeah.
Can you just scroll that a little bit? I'm just curious.
Sure.
I know people on the call might also be curious. Okay, so this is all balance sheet. Okay, so we have all the basic balance sheet accounts: inventory, receivables, finished goods. You have furniture and fixtures, fixed assets.
Yeah, we have fixed assets. There's a fixed assets module.
Oh, keep scrolling. Oh, I don't see.
Okay.
I'm just curious. I want to see all the way down to the
Here's
P&L as well. Okay.
Okay.
And then, okay. Cool. Also, it's just like a regular system. And then when you get down to the sales, the P&L, does it have equity? Okay, so equity is in there. Okay. Now income. Oh, and it's by category. Okay.
Which I would note that you don't have to do, but it's one of the ways that we suggested, that you can have just a generic retail sales, wholesale sales, market by dimension. In this example that we have it split up it's the example of like a retail sales company might want a separate account for each thing.
Yeah.
But it is up to the customer how they want their chart of accounts.
Okay. And
this
then
is where the discounts that I was talking about, that those get stored there.
And then we have non-cannabis sales, and then cost of goods sold. Is that broken out the same way?
Yes. Like you can break out cost of goods sold. The cost of goods sold is going to be defined in your general posting setup. So within the general posting setup, we set different groups to a business group and a product group. And then we can have over in the COGS account that we can set different COGS accounts depending on how we're selling it or if we're making it or whatever the case is for anything. And then what category of item it is, that you can set all that over there.
So then how does this work? So does it work for multi-entities to help with doing consolidations and things like that, making sure they have the same chart of accounts and the same account number so they can consolidate easily?
Yes, there is the multi, I forget what exactly Microsoft calls it. There's basically a multi company management where you decide what tables will be synced between legal entities that you have in the database, and as well you can filter that. So let's say you have a chart of accounts and you only want the normal chart of accounts to be synced, but you want to let other companies have accounts that aren't on the master, then you can filter it so that it only syncs that, versus you could have it so that it enforces the chart of accounts so that other companies can't just add whatever additional accounts that they want. And it depends on your structure.
So if you have a vertically integrated and you have a cultivator, then you have a manufacturer, and then you have a retail, you can put them all in here together and you can kind of slice and dice it and see, okay, how well did the producer do? How well did the retail store do? And then how does it look overall combined as a entity, as a business?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it's driven by this intercompany setup. So I just have a very basic example here. I have like this manufacturing company is in the database, and it doesn't have a synchronization partner. That's what you would use for like chart of accounts, dimensions, vendors, whatever it is that you're setting to sync. It's related to a components company that sells it components for manufacturing. And it's also related to an extraction company that sells it raw extracts. And this is all within the same organization, is the idea that your extraction company has a vendor number attached to it. And we can either auto accept transactions from that company or not. So I could change that. So I auto accept transactions because it's a different legal entity within the same organization. So of course I'm going to accept it trying to sell me something because I'm supposed to be purchasing it.
Okay. And now we have another question about receipts. So if I make a transaction and I want to book the expense, can I attach the actual receipt to that transaction? So anytime I open it, I can have a record?
Yes.
Okay.
And you can also have it follow, like if you attach a receipt to, like if you have a warehouse receipt that you're attaching the receipt to, then later if you want to bring that receipt into an invoice, you can set it up so that the receipt actually attaches to the invoice too.
Oh, so like if you're trying to bill out all your cost and all that stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
And you can set it up so that you do the matching for the invoice based on what the warehousing personnel said was actually received on the receipt, that you can separate those documents out. So you have like a quote, order, inventory receipt, then invoice, and then an actual payment within the payment journal.
Okay. There is a question about, you did mention the fixed asset module, and I stopped you before you moved on.
Okay. There's There's only a little bit to the fixed asset module that I have set up, but I can show that we have fixed assets. So I have like greenhouse machine, extraction machine. We set them up with fixed asset class and subclass, and we can have one or more different depreciation methods that we run. So usually I see it just one depreciation book until the cannabis company is acquired. At that point, they keep that old book, but then they add a new book because they have to revalue whatever it is for the new acquisition, and then they have multiple books. I've also seen it where there's a book for tax purposes and a book that's more for management purposes that they run. And it's up to you. You can have as many as you want there, but it's these different methods, including user defined, where you can just make up your own depreciation method here.
And so then, I don't know if you guys have a bunch of fixed assets in this demo, but what does the reporting look like? Do we see, a listing of all the fixed assets and where they are as far as depreciation is concerned? And
yeah, and you can see all that. There's here. I'll bring up some of those fixed asset reports. Yeah, there's kind of a lot. There's
okay. Oh my goodness. You can look at the fixed assets any way your heart desires. Okay.
It's important. I mean, it's
Can you
not.
pull up one just as a demo so you see?
Oh, yeah, I can try. I'm not sure how much. If I'm actually remembering to run my depreciation in my demo company,
Okay.
let me look at my acquisition list. Did I even ever acquire any? That's a
okay.
question.
Yeah.
Yes. Years ago, I acquired them, but you can see the acquisition list. Might be able to run some depreciation. But yeah, there's a lot of reports you can do against it. The idea being that you run like once a month, just run the depreciation against the fixed assets.
Okay. I'm kind of skipping around with the questions that are relevant, so I may have missed some, but I really feel like, and the first time I had a conversation with your team, I said, this needs to be several demos because it's just such a big platform. So there is a question about, now Kevin is asking, since this is an ERP, how would cannabis retailer use the system as a POS, or the goal for them to use what they're using? And then, okay, so just to answer this, Kevin, for this summit that I'm doing, I'm kind of focusing for accountants on the back end. So this is a full POS system. We did touch on that earlier in the presentation. So this is a one-stop shop. Like, you don't need a separate POS system and then import it into 365 Cannabis. There is a POS system, but we're not going to go deep into how to check out a customer on this call, on these calls, only because that's kind of not what we do as accountants. But when you do ask for a demo, that's the main side that we get to see. So that's kind of why I pulled this summit together, because we as accountants want to see the back end. So Scott is asking, is there an app that goes with this system, like a smartphone or a tablet that we can do transactions, pull reports on?
Oh yeah. Here, let me bring up I don't have my phone connected, so I'm gonna bring up an approximation. It actually runs the same app in a web browser. So, and this is my fixed asset journal within. I don't know if that's a good example. It's the fixed asset journal within the phone app. I'll go back to the first screen. But yeah, that would be your phone app that you can. And all the menus, instead of being at the top, or you press these three dots and new sales order.
Okay, so then this is where this is kind of a glimpse into what you would click if you're checking out a customer, or if you're wanting to get into the reporting.
Yeah. Okay. So what you see on both the phone app and on the system itself, within the main view like this, is driven by the role center. So I have this as a cultivator in this role center, but if I switch it to like a accounting manager, that instead of displaying, oh, I have these cultivation jobs going and I can make a new sales order, that it'll switch over to, trial balance, sales tax groups, bank accounts, something that a accounting manager might actually do. Accounting manager is not going to start a new crop or try to create a sales order for it.
Okay.
But yes, there's an app that goes with the system. It works on iOS, Android, phone, or tablet.
Okay. We're going back. So there's a question about multiple entity setup. Can you split an invoice between multiple entities in here?
Yes, it really is multiple transactions though. So like if you have an invoice that is to be paid by, it's simple. We actually have an extension if there's the idea of one entity paying for other entities. That's pretty simple. Then we just set a default entity that's going to pay on behalf of other entities. But to allocate the cost among different entities it's done with the intercompany partners. There's the intercompany general journal. You can specify on invoices. You can specify on invoices that this is pushed to a different company, and it'll create the corresponding entry on their side. So yes, you can do that. It's not super straightforward for that example though.
Okay. And then back to the fixed assets ledger. So when you run the reports, will you be able to see current year depreciation, future, and accumulated depreciation, like the whole picture?
You can see current year and accumulated depreciation. I've never tried running future year. You could. Well, I'll have to get back to you on the future year. Yeah, I have made copies of companies before to do a bunch of future transactions and look at that, but I'm not sure fixed assets might already have something for that.
Okay. And Bruce is getting right to the core question, which I felt like should be kind of a wrap up. So we still have about 20 minutes, but this is a huge system. Obviously, there's a lot that it takes to onboard clients. There's cost associated with onboarding clients. So I guess we just want to have an understanding of when is something like this that we should start looking into this for our clients. At what point? What size do they need to be to even afford something like this? What sophistication level, as you mentioned earlier? And then let's talk about that first, and then we'll talk about implementation.
Oh, okay. So with a system like this, as far as cost, there can be too early, but there's almost never a level of sophistication that I would call too early to implement a system like this. As the more time you have, the better it is to be able to put something like this in. I guess, okay, too early is when you're starting up and you haven't really even defined your processes yet, like your SOPs are not totally set. Then it might be too much to put in a system like this, because you'll end up going back in and changing everything in 6 months because you realize that your plan didn't work. But if you've been operating for a little while, that a system like this goes in just fine. There is a too late point that I've unfortunately seen many times. If you're using 10 different systems and spreadsheets and nobody has any time to do anything besides try to look at all this data to operate day to day, it might be too late to put in a system like this. You might have gone to a level of complication where nobody has the time to do it. And in those cases, like, I recommend people contract out their own job and then just work on implementing the system, which is one way of doing it. But cannabis companies often can't afford to contract out the purchaser, contract out the, the controller, whatever the case is.
Because they would have to incur the cost of contracting that person out, as well as the cost of the implementation itself of the software.
Yes. But the people involved with it day to day are the best people to implement it. I've had people say that they would like to contract somebody to do it for me, but that doesn't make as much sense. That it's easier to contract somebody to do the actual job being done than it is to contract somebody who knows your business, because they don't.
Okay. And so then what does implementation look like? What's the average time frame for this?
A few months. It's usually a few months. I would say that's average. I haven't seen one take longer than 18 months, and those are pretty complicated. I mean, for first using the system, implementation of the system is ongoing. Like, we have people who will do, like, they'll do finance and manufacturing, and then later they'll say, oh, okay, well, we want to add retail now, and then later now we want to do cultivation, and then you just keep adding stuff on as they're ready for it.
And then as far as the accounting system is concerned, you would just add that on when you're ready to use this accounting module?
It's always first.
Okay.
It's always first. I'm currently working with someone who is running like a pilot where they're doing manufacturing and wants to do the accounting later, but it's almost always a better job to have something set up for accounting before you start doing everything else. Not necessarily to train everybody how to do the more financial management and like forecasting and all of that, but having the transactional accounting set up is really a good idea, because if you start entering everything in at $0 cost, then you just have a long list of ledger entries that are zeros. It'll still create the ledger entries whether or not you want to implement the accounting.
Okay. And then is this system integrated with the Metric or BioTrack? I know they're like one now since the merger. But,
Yep. It's by location and by user. So you can have multiple licenses within the same company, which is pretty common that you have one legal entity with multiple of these licenses. And it's just in this state integration part. So we either have skip past that. So we either have the BioTrack ID, license ID, any BioTrack settings that we want, or we call state license, which is like the metric license. And then you have a state code, like whatever your state code is.
okay.
And then if you want the special settings in metric, that we have that. We could also, we also map items in metric. So if you have multiple items, like people call items whatever they want in metric, that we can map those to what we actually call the item and save ourselves that trouble. We also do Iowa. They have a weird one. And Canada, we do Canadian compliance as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess there's a question about how many installations have been done in the US versus Canada. I don't know what VAR is. There VAR the same in the US or versus Canada?
How many installations have been done? I've been involved with at least 200 deals. I think we've done at least 300 by this point. But it's cannabis, so we currently have like 60, 70 live customers, because cannabis companies don't all make it.
Got it. Okay. And then
it is what it is.
Yeah, we know we have them as clients, and yeah. So at MJ Unpacked earlier this month, we were told that you had specialized personal representatives that would transfer data over and set up for a fee, and could usually be done in 3 weeks. So
I was not at MJ Impact.
I'm not sure who said that. Maybe there was a lot of different, only if, facts and circumstances fit this scenario, we could do it in this time.
I mean, we could transfer data over.
Have you done a 3-week installation in just 3 weeks?
I mean, yes, we did. We did one where they were using a cannabis software where the cannabis software company was going bankrupt and told them that they were going to turn off the lights next month. So we did an implementation in 2 weeks with them, but all the people there essentially worked 2 jobs that were in the weeds of it. They worked their regular job, and then for 4 hours every day, they worked the implementation job.
Okay.
And they worked on weekends. So I wouldn't say 3 weeks is reasonable for most people.
What would you say on average? Because I know you said all the way up to 18 months, but that doesn't seem realistic either to get your business
I mean,
going.
I would estimate 4 to 6 weeks per module. So like accounting, depending on how complicated it is, 4 to 6 weeks. Manufacturing, again, depending on how complicated it is, 4 to 6 weeks. Cultivation, usually 4 weeks, but we've had some large scale cultivators who took longer. I would put it by module rather than specific times. And it really does range. Like we'll put in manufacturing for companies that just package flour into jars, and that doesn't take very long. Versus we'll put in manufacturing that's like a manufacturing company that makes things, and that'll take a lot longer.
Yeah, so that's another thing, and we're having another system demo, creating the bill of materials for a manufacturing company so that we can capture the cost of goods sold. Do you guys do all of that for us?
We'll do it for you. I mean, I'm having this discussion right now. We don't know what's supposed to go into the bill of materials. We can help once there's a template established.
Oh, okay. So, because like we can, reasonably figure out the inventory that, 1/8 of this product, all that stuff, but then also labor may be part of that. And, there's other things that kind of factor into what it costs to actually create these edibles or, whatever we're creating.
That goes in phases. Like what's the real, what do we estimate is going to be the labor versus like what's our actual labor, like that can be 2 different things. Like I've seen like in these systems where you try to time labor and then suddenly your employees are so much faster than they've ever been in their lives. And then you stop the stopwatch and come back, and then everything goes back to 30% slower than it was. So it's an ongoing thing to be able to look at the labor and versus everything else. As far as like we could have an item that we can look at cost shares of an item, for example, and within the cost shares see that it's a multi-level bill of materials where we're making this distillate terpene mix, and then we have vape pods and empty vape pods and product boxes. But then we also have these work centers for filling station, packing station, which have labor for them, where we have like a rolled up capacity cost. In my demo, it takes us 3 cents per unit of labor for them to do this, but that might vary.
Got it.
And then bill of materials for the items that we consume, so that those would have things associated with that as well, that rolls up into the cost of making that item, so that we can see that. So it's pretty easy to see what the actual cost should be once you've purchased components and then ran through some manufacturing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then can we just take a look at the inventory reporting? Like what does, in the back end, what does that look like if we want to know how much did we purchase this month? How much?
Well, my favorite one is the inventory valuation report. I mean, that's the
KPIs around inventory aging and, understanding our profitability and all that stuff.
Do inventory valuation as of date, so that we can split it by location, or we can combine everything where we see what our unit cost is, what our costing method is, what our inventory value is. Ideally, this should tie to all the inventory accounts in the GL. That's something that we can run on what was last day of the previous month. What was our inventory valuation? These reports in the Power BI have more inventory in them. It's the inventory summary. There's a value summary. Inventory levels over time. Then, what's our current inventory of different items. You can filter all this. Value summary. Do the inventory aging. That's all there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it looks, yeah. So anything we need to know about inventory? Wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And
So there's
inventory is processed in real time. So if you sell something, it exits inventory. If you purchase something, once you receive it, it enters inventory. So it's.
And then in these reports, we can kind of review, like, to make for the company to help make purchase decisions. They kind of want to know, what are their best selling products? What are their highest margin products? What products are sitting on the shelf, aged inventory, and all that stuff. So we would be able to these reports would be able to tell us those types of specifics.
We could do that. The system does have built-in tools for planning. So I can run like a planning worksheets and say, I want to calculate my plan and say, I want to calculate it today, do a master production schedule, material requirements planning, and have it tell me based on the forecast and the confirmed orders, what I should order and what I should make. Like apparently I need more boxes and I need to make a couple of these items. I have all the materials for that, but I need to actually manufacture them. And then if we like that, we can press carry out action message, and that will create all the purchase orders and all the production orders for us. Same in retail. In retail, if I know in cannabis retail that there is not always the availability to order the same thing, so that becomes problematic. But in the retail, we have either automatic or manual ordering, where we have worksheets where for things that are just same, like a lot of places sell the same types of gummies all the time, that we can just automatically forecast based on prior weeks and prior year forward weeks how much that we should probably order, and it'll just give us that value.
Okay. Okay, so this is a whole different direction. Angela is asking, does the system integrate with all payroll services? Are there ones you work better with? Or do you have a payroll service built in?
Gusto is the one that we talk to the most. Theirs works very well. The payroll providers, like in the US, like a lot of the payroll providers that already have software built out for this, will not work with cannabis companies. In Canada, we work with all kinds of payroll providers, and in the EU and everywhere else.
Okay.
But it's mainly Gusto in the United States that we tell people that they'll work with you knowing that you're a cannabis company and that we can import all that into the system.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so then Brenda's going back to the question about the bill of materials. And so she's saying, are you saying you can develop a template that includes the percentage of ingredients and labor? For example, if you're making a gummy versus one gummy versus the other, you can just put in your template and it just pulls that into the cost for every time you create it?
That's correct.
Okay. And then we have another question from Bruce. If a product is recalled by the state, what steps are taken to trace the product back to the flower used to make the product?
Oh, okay. So we can, once again, look at these item ledger entries. I'll try to find something that, I don't know, one of these bizarre numbers, these metric IDs, this one. So we can take something that's a metric ID and then use the item tracing against it. And I can like filter to that and then trace backwards and see where that went or where it came from. Trace opposite from line will go up from one of those lines. That's basically it, though. It'll go all the way back as it has it in the company. And then if you find the individual flower, then you can select that, do trace opposite from line. It'll show you what else that was used in. You can also do mass balance, like it'll show how much was produced versus how much should you have on hand, how much was sold. I've used this same Microsoft system apart from cannabis in food manufacturing, and that was a pretty common audit question. Trace based on this ingredient everybody that you sold this to, and how much do you still have.
Okay, big question. Now this is depends. What is the pricing for this piece of software?
Yeah, it very much depends. It's generally per month per user. Depending on what features you enable, it could be, couple $100s, multiple hundreds if you have a bunch of things assigned to one user. Sometimes it's really a range, and the range for services is all over the place. That implementing a big cannabis company is going to cost a lot more than a small one generally.
Yeah, so we have to factor in the implementation cost in itself might be prohibitive for some, smaller operators. You gave me a range from 50,000 to 500,000, just depending on what all you're doing.
It could be less too.
Okay, and then
I've never seen it more than that.
From there, then you have your monthly cost per user, depending how big your organization is.
Yeah.
So this is not a first, this is the first POS or system that we're getting into. This is more of we're sophisticated and we're ready to move forward to implement something like this.
That's usually the progression we see, that we'll have a customer who they started with just spreadsheets. And sometimes they were still using spreadsheets and it got too much for this system, and they didn't want to take a baby step to something else and then move to this system. But most often it's they start with spreadsheets. They start using a so-called seed to sale system, which mostly to do compliance. Most of what I've seen is that they found the interface to something like Metric too complicated to manage everything. So they used another system on top of it. And then eventually they get to the point where they want to bring everything in so that they don't have 10 different systems floating around. And that's usually where we find them. Although we have had people use our system as the first system, usually with it in mind that they were going to have to switch to something like this eventually, usually because they came from a different industry where they would realize that.
Okay, got it. All right. Are there any last minute thoughts? We are on the last minute, and I don't know. Let me know in the chat if you guys want them to come back, if we want to dig deeper into, because we just really kind of went into the accounting system, a little bit of reports. But if there's any other areas you guys want to dig deeper into, just let me know, and we can bring 365 Cannabis back. But yeah, do you have any last minute things that you'd like to touch on, Ian?
Oh, no, that was great questions here. If anybody does want to do a demo deeper into this system, we can do it without sales pressure, especially with accounting firms that we try to partner with accounting firms to let them know of the capabilities of the software if they wanted to recommend that to any of their clients.
Yeah, and I wasn't too big on showing the front end, the POS and all that stuff. But if that's something that you guys would like to see, just let me know, send an email or whatever, and we can do those as well. But other than that, then I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for showing this.
All right, thank you.
All right, you guys all take care. Bye.